again, unless it's an ethnic or a cultural thing, and we're seeing that a little bit in what I call the church community, right?
Oh yeah,
Where
yeah.
the bridegroom may not be churchgoers, but the
But their
family is,
family,
right?
yeah.
And I've been asking this question recently because I got yelled at by a mom not too long ago for hosting a wedding at Breathless. That how dare I allow her daughter to choose this resort because it is not the right resort for church going people. Yeah.
Hi, Jack.
Hi, Omi. How are you doing?
I am just great. Happy to see you again. How are
Yeah, it's been a
you?
while. I'm doing
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Busy?
Busy, busy.
Busy, busy. Yes.
So of course everyone at this point knows who you are. This will be on your channel. It'll be on, mine too. Happy to be on your channel too, by the way. Thank you.
Well, we're going to do an interview with you hopefully soon once I can figure out how to get the technology to work.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, and we could always literally, we could record it and I'll put it,
no,
give
I
it to
want to make
you.
you the superstar. So, I'm going to have questions for you that people, you'll be helpful for people. So, we'll
Yes.
do that soon.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Okay. Some Desti wed tips. So I talked to the Desti lovers community and we had lots and lots of questions.
Okay.
And more than anything else, we know that, I mean, you do all of the things, but when it comes to resorts, you are well traveled, you work with lots of them, you have some strong opinions at the same time too, and you'll keep it real with us. So,
Yes.
do you, and this is, I guess it'll be like we have the resorts episode that we did that is still very popular. People ask
Okay.
questions. And actually, a question just recently on the comment section came up asking about Royalton resorts. And I guess how, okay, let me not even just put Royalton like that. The real question is, do certain resorts chains have reputations? If we're looking for a party resort, do we go, is it specific to the type of resort, like the actual brand or the
Yeah,
destination?
great
Kind of,
question. So the answer is yes and no, right? I mean, let's look at an example that if you're adults only,
right.
we know that Secrets is an adults only. Some of the Secrets individually seem to have more of a couples vibe than a party vibe,
Mhm.
right? And if you're looking at one of your favorites, Sandals, we know that they're all couples resorts, right? Because they're king bedded rooms and they're focused on romance. So, can you get romantic party atmosphere? Sure, I guess, but I don't think that Sandals would ever say they're a party resort. When you look at the adults only segment, yes, like Breathless, which is an AM resort product. I mean, that is an adults only party vibe, active, fun resort. But if you want to be romantic and have a mellow area, a lot of the Breathless resorts may have a quieter area. When you look at, you mentioned Royalton, Royalton has a brand called Chic.
Mm,
Chic has, or Hideaway, they also have a brand.
okay.
So to me, the Chic brand is a knockoff of a Breathless. A little bit more risque attitudes, some cool activities, but definitely more, it's adults only and has a more party active vibe. Hideaway by Royalton, which they have individual hideaways, as some have hideaway sections at Royaltons, they tend to be more like a Secrets or a more adults only romantic, not just couples only, right? Because you can be romance and not a couple, I
Right.
guess. But yeah, and then when you look at the family friendly segment, the same thing. I think that it's hard to just say, like, look at, say, Dreams or Royalton and say the Royaltons, some are more active or not. So Royalton has a new brand coming out. They have one that they just opened in Mexico called Royalton Splash. And to me, it really defines that they have a water park. But
Is
I
this
just
is this
find,
adult only still?
no,
This
no, the Royaltons as a whole are family friendly.
got you. Okay.
So what I've seen recently is the resorts are trying to dedicate more resources to more activities internal of the resort. So that Royalton Splash has a gigantic water park there. Okay. So because of that, the vibe I think is going to be a more active vibe. But I think the benefit of any of these resorts, whether it's Royalton or Dreams, is that they are going to have an attitude and an atmosphere within the resort to make anybody happy,
Okay.
right? Now, you're not going to go to a Zoetry resort if you want to party, right? It's a spa zen resort. But I think if we take a step back and we say one of the values, and I'm going to say one of the large values and the secret sauce that finding a travel professional provides to you as a bride or a groom is exactly that, is understanding what you as the bride and groom, and what's even more important, what your guests are looking for, so that when they develop a list of resorts we think are a good fit, that we can understand that you want more of a party, you need teens club, you have a lot of little kids, you need an active daytime activity for kids, um, so that every resort is a little different. The other problem is making a wholesale statement like with Dreams Resorts, that every Dreams Resort is good.
Right.
That's a bad statement because I have strong opinions on that. There are just some Dreams Resorts that they slapped a name on, and they're not of the same quality of other Dreams Resorts, which is very misleading. That if someone, say, has ever been at Dreams Playa Mujeres and then looks at, I'm not going to mention the other Dreams names, but there are some Dreams Resorts that are just 1970s hotels that they took a
They
management
bought.
contract with Dream. They didn't buy them, but they manage them.
Okay.
And they just smack that name on them, but they're yucky, right?
Okay.
So I think you have to be careful, but it's true with every brand. So I think if you have a family-friendly hotel that you're looking for a more active vibe, an overall statement is like Hard Rock just has a great active vibe. They've got water parks at the Hard Rock Riviera Maya. But, one of them in Punta Cana has great activity. And I think also if you look at the Palace resorts, like Moon Palace and the Grand, can keep everybody busy 24 hours a day and have full activity, from adults only pool areas that feel like you're at a place in Vegas to a kids club that has bumper cars and a little indoor neon mini golf course.
Mm.
So I think it is tough to make a wholesale statement,
Right.
but I think that's really why someone needs to either invest a lot of their time in looking at these resorts, or to me, just find a travel professional that you have confidence in that knows these resorts, and that's where you're going to be.
Yes. I love that you're saying that. And something that I always tell the brides is don't fall in love with the brand. Just because you went and
Right.
visited a brand, for example, like the Royalton in St. Lucia or something, that's where Nicole was going to get married. But that brand was great, right? But then it's like, oh, I need a, so guests visited and loved it, or all of the things. But then you're like, okay, so I want to get married at a Royalton, but not that Royalton. You can't really do that. Like you're saying,
Yep.
like you need to make sure, let's not just let the brand be the end all be all. It's kind of
Right.
like with the designer. You don't just decide, I want this designer no matter what. When it comes to a gown or something, is it a fit for you? Right. So that's what
Right.
you're pushing
And,
home, right?
and,
Yeah.
and I think the other thing is, and this is very important, not only is it fit for you, the bride and the groom, but is it a fit for these 30, 40, 50, 100 people, your
Yeah.
guests that you were inviting?
Okay.
Because my thing is that you may be a Ritz-Carlton bride, but I may be a Hampton Inn guest. And
Gotcha.
there's no sense of taking me to the Ritz-Carlton if I don't appreciate everything the Ritz-Carlton can provide to me. And
Okay.
really, all I want to do is just drink frozen margaritas for 4 or 5 nights.
Okay, but in that case, I'm still a Ritz Carlton bride, right? So I'm not gonna go Hampton Inn, but maybe there's something in the middle ground that makes more
That's the key,
sense
is
that
finding,
way.
and that's why I think when you work with your travel professional, all this information has to come out. Is there a specific drink that you like? Is there an activity? Do we need swim out pool rooms? What is it that we're looking for that within the budgets of each person, that we can help guide a bride and groom to have some options, versus you just picking the Ritz Carlton and your friends from college get there, and while they can afford it, they're like, this is boring.
Yeah,
Why did Omi drag us to St. Lucia? And like, that's great. I have a Ritz Carlton pen,
right.
but there's nothing to do here. I don't golf.
Yeah, yeah, the
Maybe it's
golf
the
thing.
honeymoon
Yeah.
location, right? So, and going back to your question about Royalton, I mean, what we're seeing is these companies are putting their brands on resorts all over the place, and some of them are just questionable.
Yeah.
As an example, Charisma, which I love as a company, several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I found that they had a resort in Croatia. And what are the odds? I'm going to be in Croatia.
Oh,
So
that's
I called
right.
the general manager and I said, hey, I'd like to come. It was, again, the food was terrible.
Hmm.
And everything was like 3 star, was Charisma is a 5 or 6 star resort. So
Yeah.
they were trying to market that to the local marketplace, which didn't really value what Charisma brings to the table.
Mm.
And in a couple weeks, actually next week, I'll be in Europe and I'm going to go to the New Dreams in Corfu, Greece.
Yes, I
So
saw that.
so
Yeah.
we're going to do a site inspection because I have a client that wants to get married in Greece, and just so happens I'll be there. And it's one of few all-inclusive. So again, I think when you and your travel planner look at brands, you can kind of look at a brand, but then you look at the individual resort. And I think it's true whether it's Hyatt, Hilton. You can stay in a beautiful Hyatt in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and then you could go to wherever. And that Hyatt used to be a something else that was converted to a something else, and now it's a Hyatt.
Yeah.
So I think that you can't just trust the brand. They have brand standards, but within that brand standard, I think they may have flexibility.
Okay, I love that. So looking at the Instagram, I did a Instagram poll. They dropped some questions, but so Hard Rock, I know Hard Rock is something that, as a brand, you do have ones that you love. But Hard Rock Los Cabos, are there any tips that you could give, or just anything that they should know about? It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
a
I actually,
brand, but
so I have turned a little bit sour on Hard Rock, not from the guest experience, but
okay,
because their wedding department has been tough to work with. Um, some of their terms and conditions have been tough to work with. One of the things that I recently saw, which really just drives me crazy, is they're telling brides that they're not going to start the planning process until 60 to 90 days prior to the wedding.
right,
Um, but Hard Rock Las Cabas, I love that resort. I was at the grand opening. Um, there's some great wedding locations there. You can't really swim on that beach, and it's a gigantic beach. The food there was very good. It's a new build. I mean, I really like that resort. They have a nice chapel or church there with a beautiful view behind it.
okay.
The rooms are nice. The food was good. So I really did like and do like the Hard Rock in Los Cabos.
Okay. And something I never really ask you about comes up often. Iberostar resorts. So, um,
Yeah, so I'm not a big Iberostar fan.
mhm,
Iberostar typically will build complexes with multiple resorts within the resort.
right.
And my experience is they have one resort there that is mediocre, inexpensive, so priced low. Then they have one next to it, which family, and these, so you have a family friendly, another family friendly, and then you have an adults only. I'm a very large fan of the Grand Ibero Stars, which are
Okay.
adults only, amazing quality.
Okay.
I'm not a great fan of many of the other Iberostar product. I just find the food is not as good as some of the other places. The brands at the bars are not as good. Again, some of these resorts are just stunning physical resorts, new construction, judge a book by its cover. Like, I want the Iberostar,
Yeah.
but my experience, and now they have a new product called Iberostar Selection.
I was just about to ask about that. That specifically,
Yeah,
yeah.
again, I've not been to one yet.
Okay.
Been invited, haven't been, but my sense is they're going a little bit more upscale. The
Okay.
other thing I've seen with Iberostar is their wedding team. I've not had great luck with the wedding team customizations, even though that's what they pride themselves on. So when we've had brides have them, brides have not been happy working with the wedding teams.
Okay.
Prices, again, when you look at a good quality Iberostar, because again, there's like in Riviera Maya, you have like 5 of them in a row and they
Right.
vary in quality. And some of them are like buffet oriented, some of them are a la carte with buffet. But one of the things is they're bracelet hotels, so you have the wristbands. Some of them are restricted based upon the wristband and room category and things of that nature. And some of them, when you check in, like I stayed in Iberostar before COVID, And as soon as I checked in, the first question they had for me was, where would you like to eat during your week? I'm like,
I don't
I have
know.
no, I don't know. Well, go see my colleague over there. They'll tell you about the restaurants and they'll make your reservations for you. Now, it's great they have reservations, but my attitude was, I don't know. I just got here.
I don't
I
want to
don't
think
really
about
want to
that
look at
right
your
now.
menus. And
Yeah.
by the way, I'm on vacation. When I'm
Yeah.
home, it's rigid. When I'm on
Yeah.
vacation, my wife and I want to figure out that day where we want to go or the next day.
Yeah.
So, um, so again, I think the Iberostars as a whole, they're not, look, it's not always one of my top tens.
Mhm.
And I have to take into account my feeling about the resort, but I want to listen and learn from brides,
Right.
hear from their experience in planning. And if
Yeah.
you want a less customized wedding, I find that the brides seem to be happy.
Yeah.
If you want more customization, and I think that's when you work with your travel planner to find and define what you want, then you recommend, or I recommend, resorts that I think can exceed your expectation and not stress you out.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. And I wonder, like, because I've stayed at an Iberostar back in the day too. I think it was the one in Aruba, but or I don't even think it's Iberostar anymore. That's how long ago it's been. But I think they think it's like a good thing, like they're doing a service, like, hey, we'll handle
Yeah,
this for you. But it's like, hey, I just got here. I don't
yeah.
like. Okay, thank you. I know that that's important to you, but give me a little
Well,
minute.
the other thing, and again, I can't speak on this as of today, but Iberostar would limit you in terms of your a la carte reservations based upon your length of stay. So,
Hmm.
dependent upon certain room categories, that you may be there for 4 nights and you may only have the option to eat at an a la carte X number of nights. Now, on a wedding, that matters less, right? Because you're
Everybody's
obligated
kind of
for a wedding one or event 1 or 2 nights, so that may work. But again, I I can't tell you the last time in Cancun, Punta Cana, that I recommended an Iberostar. Um, I do have an Iberostar wedding in Jamaica at the Grand,
okay.
and I've looked at the Iberostar Rose Hall Suites for someone, but when we priced it, it was equivalent in pricing to some of the Royaltons, and to me, the Royalton, in my opinion, is a better guest experience, and the wedding team is a little bit more flexible.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So we know that, well, so I've come, like, the community is growing, and with that, people are more interested in kind of exploring it doesn't have to have an all inclusive, if that makes sense. Like, so certain
Yep,
destinations that just aren't all inclusive heavy.
exactly.
So in that case, like, we've got like the Arubas or like
Grand Cayman, St. Martin's, St.
yes,
Lucia.
yes.
Yeah, and
Um,
here's the thing that I always tell people: we don't do a lot of non all inclusive.
mhm.
Um, but I tell people, look, I'm fine with it, but I think you have to think about it from the guest perspective, right? First of all, from the bride perspective, the expenses are going to be much higher, right? So if you look at Grand Cayman or Aruba, the wedding reception prices are going to be expensive
Right.
because
If
they're
you're
not
having your wedding like on that resort though,
on the
right?
property. Yeah,
Right.
right.
That's the assumption, yeah.
And then the guest expense is, I was just talking to a client. We were looking at a wedding in Turks, and the room rates were relatively the same as an all-inclusive in other places because it's Turks. But like breakfast, which was a
Hmm.
mandatory breakfast plan, was like $48 per person per day.
Yeah.
Um, and I had said to the client, it's not as though that even if they didn't have it, it's not as though you could leave the back of the resort and go to the bagel shop, right, and get a Starbucks and a bagel for
Right.
10 bucks. So you're pretty
Because
well
of where it's
fixed in.
located, you have
Right.
to, yeah.
Yeah. And same thing in Mexico, like when people are asking in Cabo specifically, the Ritz, the JW, or some of the boutique resorts there that aren't all inclusive, you're in essence stuck in an all inclusive that's not all inclusive, right? So
Hmm.
if you, as an example, I stayed at Nobu, which is an amazing, amazing hotel in Cabo right next to Hard Rock.
Hmm.
Um, Breakfast every day was like 40 some dollars a day at the buffet, or I could go to the little, little deli thing they had there or whatever it was. and I could get like a bagel or a yogurt or something, but that was still $15,
Hmm.
right? And sitting around the pool, if I wanted lunch, I think between my wife and I, we spent $100 on lunch for like some salads and some ceviche and no alcohol.
Mm,
And then drinks around the pool were like 12 to $16 plus plus.
yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think that um, there are amazing non all inclusive resorts all over. But I think when you look at those, you really have to look a lot deeper into not only what the room rate is, but what is it going to cost my guests? Like if you're in Aruba, to your point, I'm fine with not doing all inclusive there because you can take a 5-minute walk from pretty much any hotel
Anywhere.
and you
Yeah.
can be at TGI Fridays, you can be at KFC, or you can be
Seriously.
downtown in the downtown shopping area, the tourist area, and you have 100 restaurants and the food is fairly priced.
Yeah.
But when you're in Turks or if you're in St. Lucia,
Yeah.
there's no downtown shopping district. So I think when you look at these locations, specifically like I'm working on a wedding in Hawaii now, it's total craziness because
Which
you're not
island?
going to leave that resort. Then you need a rental car and then you pay $48 a day, or you take an Uber and it's $80 round trip for the Uber to get to the shopping center. So I think
Yeah.
it varies by destination. So I think
Yeah.
it's something people have to look at. The other thing I think when you do a non all inclusive resort, you create in my mind a world of class system or haves and have
Hmm.
nots. That
Yeah.
if 6 of you want to go to dinner that night, someone is going to want to look at the menu. Go, I think I may not go with you guys because they don't want to
Yeah.
get stuck on a $200 a head dinner because you're within the resort at a Fairmont Mayakoba, or
Mm.
like I said, even in St. Lucia, we worked with Anne Chastanet on a non all inclusive. So I think you really have to, as the bride or the travel professional, you really have to take more things into account. The all inclusive makes it so much easier so that there's, everybody that's invited pays one price. And I always tell people, if someone ever called me going to a really good all inclusive, and they call me that morning from the airport and they're like, oh my God, Jack, I forgot my wallet. What should I do? I'd go, get on the plane. Do you have a
Yes.
passport?
Yeah, you
Because
said.
the resort you're going to, you really don't need any more money if you have $100.
Yeah.
But the opposite is true. If you're going to an EP, a non all inclusive hotel, you will need money because every time you turn around, you're going to have to spend money on something. So,
You
but
said
in certain
EP.
parts,
What is EP?
European plan.
Okay.
So
Oh, okay.
some non all inclusive hotels will be EP, which is European plan, meaning no meals included. Some of them will be BP, breakfast plan, and some
Hmm.
will be MAP, modified American plan, which would be breakfast and dinner
Okay.
built in. But typically, you're not going to find anybody with truly all inclusive. And if you are a drinking crowd, you
Oof.
could have a substantial bill at some of these resorts just for Diet Cokes.
Yes. No. Yes. That's a
But
yes. I'll
but
agree
to
with.
your point, certain places you can't do all inclusives. We did a wedding in Tuscany. There are no all inclusives in Tuscany, right?
Hmm.
We've done a wedding in France. We've done a wedding in Portugal, non all inclusive. So you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
But I think as you look at specific locations, all inclusive may make sense. I think the big pushback I get sometimes with people on the all inclusive is all inclusives aren't quality.
Mm.
I want a Ritz Carlton quality hotel, and I don't think an all inclusive can be like that, Jack. And my first question is, have you ever stayed at an all inclusive? Which
Right.
ones? And
Exactly.
again, going back to the need of a great travel planner, if you identify what you're looking for and we know what we're doing, we can probably find you what you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Aw,
So,
I love that. Okay. So a quick shift connected to something that you said. Okay, hold on. I know you're all into this, and I told you that this was a good interview. Isn't Jack great? Aren't you so very excited that I've decided to partner up with him? So Vacationeeze and Desti are going to be doing some really great things right now. I know you're excited, and I just have to take a moment to thank Jack and Vacationeeze for sponsoring this episode. So by now, I know you can already tell that Jack loves what he does. But one thing I did not tell you was that this man actually has a YouTube channel as well.
So make sure that you check it out, because in addition to all of the tips that we are getting here, you can also finish this and go straight to his YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. And that's a really great way for you to get to know him even more if you just can't wait for the next episode. So this is going to be great. I'm so excited to partner with Vacationeeze and give you an idea of exactly what it's like to be a Vacationeeze couple. Okay, back to the interview. Gosh.
When it comes to budgeting and thinking about the things that I feel like there's always, I guess, are there any issues that you hear of when people have no idea what they're doing? They want to know how much is this going to cost me or something like that. And of course, you've got what is the room block? What's the room rate? And
Yeah,
then where's the wedding package? But at this point, resorts don't even give you those until, like you said, 60, 90 days. What
yeah,
sorts of things do you tell your
yeah.
clients to make sure
It,
that they're aware of, just
it
to
really,
know?
I hate the B word, right?
I know.
Budget, right? But it's a question you have to ask. So you have to ask the budget, as to your point. There's two budgets, and I want to do a whole video series on this, but I just haven't had time to put it together.
Hmm.
But there's the guest budget for the 4 or 5 night stay. That's an easy one. That's a no-brainer, because it's part of our job. We can get that proposal from the resort 2 years in advance. So we'll know a fixed cost of what it's going to cost for your guest to stay 4 or 5 nights with the transportation, but not with the flights because we can't get them.
Yes.
Then it's what is it going to cost me as the bride and groom? Okay, here's the biggest issue. Many of the resorts do have wedding packages all the way through 2024.
Hmm.
So that makes it kind of easy. But and I will say the Royaltons, the Dreams, the Palaces, the Hard Rocks, all the bigger companies, the Iberostars, they all have their packages pretty well out there, the Hyatt Zivas. So you can get a general idea. And I think they will tell you, if you have an idea of the bride, that you can get an idea of, I want a dance floor with a monogram, I want a light show, I want fireworks. You can probably get from a planner today's cost
Hmm.
in 2022 and kind of juxtapose and extrapolate a number of what it's going to be for your wedding, right?
Hmm.
But I always tell brides are saying to me, well, how can I choose that resort until I know how much it's really going to cost me for my wedding? I'm like, you're not going to know how much it's really going to cost until about 60 days prior to your wedding,
And you don't know
because
how many guests,
how
you
many
don't
guests,
know.
right?
Yeah.
And if you have a resort that has perks like the Palaces and you get all these great perks, well, accounting doesn't really look at it until we send a final rooming list.
Right.
So I do think it's fairly easy, um, that if you have a good sense of truly what your expectation of how many numbers are and what your dreams as a bride, I think working A with your travel partner can help you do that. And B, at some point you're going to be introduced to the resorts. Now, some of the resorts, and I really say some, what we can say to the resort is, hey, you've made it to round three, right? This bride has narrowed this list to 2 or 3 resorts. You're on that list. But they want to get a better sense of what is this really going to cost me. Can you schedule a call?
Hmm.
Some of the resorts will do that and work with the bride, and some won't. My caution to the brides is this: the time it takes them to do that, the room rates may go up, or may lose the wedding locations you want if you're
Mm.
taking a month to work with the sales team to get a proposal. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So, but the answer is yes. I think that today there's enough information out there that someone can get an approximate number. And reality is, any of us that focus on destination weddings, if a bride says to us, hey, I have an idea what I'm looking for. And I know what DJs cost. I know what I try to keep up on this, and I think most people like me do. So we
Hmm.
can give them a pretty well sense. But every now and then I'll get someone that says, I'm gonna have 100 people and my budget's 10 grand. I'm like, forget it. Don't do a
Yeah.
destination wedding. It's
Yeah.
unrealistic. And I hate having to say that to someone. Well, what do you think it should be, Jack? Well, this is part of our consulting we do. And, once I learn about exactly what you want, I can give you a better sense.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say the 100, because people, I get it's kind of like that affordable. I hate when people post, especially in Facebook groups, and they're like, someone, what's an affordable DJ? And I'm like,
Yeah,
affordable to who? Like, affordable
exactly.
to me is not affordable to you, is not affordable to, like, let's give numbers. Like, I have this amount for a DJ. Anyone paid this amount, or how much did you
Yep.
pay? Because, and that's the same idea when it comes to all of the things, like, or the size of a wedding. 100 people to me is a big wedding, a big destination wedding, right? That feels big.
Yeah.
But for you, in your experience, what's like a large, what's a medium? And we're
Yeah.
not going to count your Nigerian and Indian weddings because we already
Yeah.
know where those go.
Yeah. So it's funny. We just had a wedding that was not Nigerian and Indian. It just ended yesterday, and it was like 110 rooms.
Mm.
Yeah, and it grew. I mean, it was a bride that started with 35 rooms, and she must have been popular. And, so it was crazy because she would look at the rooming list and go, "Hey, Jack, those people aren't my guests." I'm like, let me make sure I didn't screw up. Yeah, they are your guests. And we had that issue. So it was like her mom, her church, and people
Hmm.
telling people about the wedding. And she's like, oh boy. So, I think that we've seen trends for 2023 and 24, and this isn't just me, it's friends of mine that are competitors, because I just had this discussion with people. Um, we're seeing that our average wedding for 23 is like forecast to be like 30 to 40 rooms, like
Okay.
non-ethnic, Hispanic,
Just the
Mexican,
standard.
whatever, just a standard wedding, 30 to 40 rooms. But I think the other thing we're seeing is that COVID kind of threw a wrench in this, right? Because in the old days, I would tell people 60% of people you invite will show. But
Mhm.
now I think people were sitting in their basements for so long and didn't spend their money. Like, hey, look, Omi invited me to her wedding in Jamaica. I really don't like Omi that much, but you know what? It
I want to
looks
go
like a
to.
pretty good deal. We could party. I'm going to the wedding. And and so this causes issues. And again, it goes back to dealing with your travel planner. We're running into issues that as these weddings grow, the resorts don't have the rooms to add at a later point. So it's
Mm.
very important that I tell brides when they say, what's the first thing I can do? I'm like, work on your guest list and really put like a rating of who's going to come.
Yeah.
Because if we get 25 rooms and you need 40, there's a very high likelihood we may not get 40. We may not get them at the same price, and we may not get them in the same category, and we may have to tell people no.
Yeah.
So I'm classifying small weddings as 10 to 15 rooms, medium as 25 to 35 rooms, and large anymore is 50 rooms or more for the our non-big weddings.
Okay.
Um,
And the other thing I will add for you guys, stop inviting all these people. Okay. Stop doing this whole, I'm just going
Well,
to send this
but
invitation because
I'm
they
gonna differ with
come.
you. I'm gonna differ with you. Here's
Okay.
what I tell brides: only invite people that you like to hang out with,
Yes. Okay.
right?
No, I'm with that. Yes. Yes. Okay. I feel like we're actually
Right.
agreeing on this because people invite people that they either don't know or don't like that because that's just what you're supposed to do or whatever. And yes, I am in 100% agreement with, make sure that you want to party with them. Make sure that
Right.
they're supporters of you and not going to
Yeah.
cause you all the stress in the world because you do have to deal with these people on some level. They'll
Right.
drive you, the travel professional, crazy. They'll drive the couple crazy. They're going to take forever to get their RSVPs in, or they're going to be inviting other people. And with that,
Right.
can you? So if I, like, for now, like if me and Che were planning our anything, whatever, what's it, vow renewal or something, and we're using you and we say, okay, these are the people that we're inviting. If someone else calls, can we put that up in advance and go like, hey,
Yeah.
we don't want
It's
that many.
tough, right?
Like, how do you control that? There has to be a way of going, no, you can't come to my wedding.
Yeah, it is very tough. And so the answer is we've never really done that
Okay.
because no one's ever given us their guest list and said, only let these people attend. Now, on our larger weddings, Nigerian and Indian weddings, we've had that. But recently, because to my point, people just want to travel since they haven't traveled, like I've had a group of brides look at a rooming list and say, who's that person?
Yeah.
I'm like, let me give you their
That's
address. And
wild.
they're like, I don't know who that is. And I think what happens is that sometimes moms and aunties say to people, hey, my daughter's getting married. It's not costing her anything. Why don't you come? I like
They
you.
think they're,
Right.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that as
You
the
gotta talk to your
bride, you
people.
have to have a meeting with everybody involved and say, it's my wedding. This is who I'm inviting. I want to keep it to this number because every now and then a bride will say, I don't really care. have as many people as you want. I'm like, but here's the point you're missing is the more people you have, the more perks you may get. But every table needs a tablecloth. Every table needs a centerpiece. If
Chairs.
if
Oh,
you have
oh
more
God.
people than you expected, the
Food,
DJ needs
drinks.
more equipment, more food, more drinks. So it goes back to budget.
Yeah.
Um, but in answer to your question, so we have two clients right now that have basically sent us a rooming list or their guest list, we call it a rooming list, and said,
Mhm.
these are the only people I want you to allow to come to my wedding. First time I've ever had that happen in all the years I've been doing this. We had a woman, a bride, probably 3 months ago that had an issue that we ran out of rooms. And
Yeah.
it was her mother-in-law's fault. She was inviting people from work. They weren't coming to the wedding, but the rate was so much better than what people could find online. She wanted to hang out with some of her friends. We
Yeah.
ran out of rooms, and then the bride said to me, "Hey Jack, can you and your team call those three people and tell them they can't come to my wedding? These are people fully paid,
Yeah, no, you call
because
those
I need the
people.
rooms." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, I don't think it's appropriate for me to do that because they had all the paperwork.
Right.
So maybe your mother-in-law needs to talk to them."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I think you just have to control that up front. Look, at some point, and specifically like with Palace and Hard Rock and some of the resorts, you gain benefits the more people you have.
Right.
But I always say to brides and grooms, if you're stuck on this desert island at this resort, are the people you inviting? Now there are going to be some people like Uncle Bob that you have to have, right? Because he's your mother's brother's father's sister, right, or whatever. But look at that list and go, yeah, I definitely want to hang out at a swim up pool bar with them. I want to play volleyball. I
Yeah.
want to have dinner with him because he lives in Atlanta and I don't get to see him that often.
Yeah.
So I think what we found is the people that you care about and the people that care about you are the ones that are going to show. Again, unless it's an ethnic or a cultural thing, and we're seeing that a little bit in what I call the church community, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the bridegroom may not be churchgoers, but the
But their
family is,
family.
right?
Yeah.
And I've been asking this question recently because I got yelled at by a mom not too long ago for hosting a wedding at Breathless. That how dare I allow her daughter to choose this resort because it is not the right resort for church-going people. Yeah, it was. They were there on a site inspection. The mom went with the daughter to do the last minute planning, like 60 days before the wedding. Everybody was paid. Well, I don't ask, are you church going people, right? I'm not
No.
even sure if I'm allowed to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, the mom went off of me saying, the craziest thing, this was just totally crazy. She said, do you know there's pornography on the TVs? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's on channel 73,
If
right?
you get
So
that far.
did you
How
go
did you
through
how
every
did you know
channel?
that? Yeah,
Right, how did you
exactly.
know
How
that
did you
exactly? She says, we're having pastors at this wedding. I'm like, okay, tell them to watch CNN then. I
I
mean,
think they know how to avoid some, yeah. Okay.
but
That's
so I think
yeah.
that in essence, you really need to, going back to the first thing you need to do as a bride and groom is take your list,
Guest
put it in
list.
Excel, and look at all these people you're inviting
Yeah.
because it helps you determine the resorts to look at.
Yeah.
What are their food requirements? What's the vibe you're looking for? How many are kids? How many are teens? If you spend a lot of time on that, that helps you if you're doing it yourself. It helps your budget and it helps your travel professional pick resorts for you.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Okay. That's good. This is good stuff. The one thing that we did, I mean, we got married in 2017, but we did have our website was locked. Like you had to have a password to get in to see the details, which I think also and also our guests knew how private and how we are, and we weren't playing that. And my dad did ask, could he invite some, have some friends come, and I was just like, no, I really want you to be about me. And if you're with other people, then that takes that away. So this isn't vacation. This is your daughter's getting married, and I want
Yeah.
you. So, and I was
So no
fine
one
with
has
saying
ever
that.
asked us
So,
to lock a website.
yeah.
I
Well,
see that
we locked
clients,
ours. We just
yeah,
did, but yeah.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen clients lock their Zolo or not sites,
Hmm.
and then that links to ours.
Yeah.
But we actually, with one of our Indian weddings, we did actually have passcodes. for
Okay.
different websites we built, which had different pricing depending upon how much the family was subsidizing. But
Ah,
it doesn't matter
because
because
all
the
they got to do
passcodes
is
got
give
out.
the
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that is true. So yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Yeah. Well, that's a good problem to have. Somewhat, people love you and people want to
Exactly.
come for the most part. Or some people are just nosy, like you said, they just want to come. But ultimately, it's a great problem to have.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
yay! Well, thank you for this.
No
This is good
problem.
stuff. This is good stuff. And I would ask you, I will link to you as usual so that everyone can know where to find you and how to find you.
Thank you.
What resorts are you going to visit soon? What's on Jack's calendar?
Yeah, so let's see. I think that in October we're doing a whirlwind because there are some resorts that have opened. So in October I am heading to, let's see where, Breathless Soul, which is a brand new Breathless resort in Riviera Maya. I've been looking forward to that because I love the Breathless brand. I'm heading to Secrets Mokche, which is a adults only new secrets, as well as their grand opening for their Impressions section, which is an even upper scale property within the property above, say, a preferred club. I'll be back at one of my favorites, El Dorado Casita and Generations.
Yeah.
I will also be going to Dreams Natura to do an update because they added a water park. Um, and where else? Dreams Vista, which I haven't visited since it opened because it opened prior to COVID. So they're all in Riviera Maya, and I definitely want to go see the new Royalton Splash.
Right.
And I'm going to go do a hard hat tour for now the third time of the future Margaritaville Island Reserve adults only resort that Charisma is opening for 2023.
Where's
And I
that?
also, that is right by the existing Margaritaville Island Reserve, which is a family friendly resort, which I've done a video of, but they are opening up an adults only, a brand new build. It was started, I was there. They put it on hold, but now it's definitely opening and it looks like it's going to be amazing. And I also want to go see one of the new Hyatt Ziva Riviera Cancun. So I'm trying to see a bunch of resorts while I'm down there.
Yeah, it sounds
And
like
of
it.
course, I'll be at the Grand at the Moon Palace. I will not have time to go to my second home, LeBlanc Cancun,
Uh-huh.
but that's always one of my favorites, as you know.
Yeah, we'll try to get a live something, maybe get you on like a Desti hour live or something while you're down there, so we can see your view wherever you're sitting. It's always somewhere cool. So,
Yeah, yeah,
really quick before you just made me think about something that I did get asked, and I don't know your thoughts on this. So you're going to see brand new resorts. When couples are thinking about actually booking a new resort for their wedding that's not open yet or that
yep.
just opened, in my mind, like there's usually a learning curve or like the resorts are just opening.
So
What
I
are
have
your
this. Yeah. So my policy is I won't book anybody at a resort I haven't stayed at,
mm-hmm.
um, unless it's a brand I know that has good brand standards, right? I also won't book anybody at a resort that isn't going to be open for at least 6 months from the date that they say it's going to open because they have a tendency to push, and the first 6 months can be a nightmare experience. And even though the room rates will be low, your guests having a bad time are not going to be thankful to you for getting them a less expensive rate at a terrible resort today that in a year and a half from now may
will
be a better
be,
resort.
yeah, they can
So I
work all
think
the
that,
kinks out.
yeah, I think an overall saying is that, if you stick with a Royalton, a Palace, an AM Resort, a Dream, Secrets, whatever, a Hard Rock, those guys do a really good job of opening resorts. But again, you're in Mexico, you're in the Caribbean, things can just take longer.
Yeah.
And as we are having staffing shortages or ability to hire people here, I was talking to a general manager of a resort in Cancun, Riviera Maya, that tells me he is 90 staff members short. He can't
Really?
find, they are having the same issues everywhere in the Caribbean, in the cruise industry. Some of the cruise lines are not opening up restaurants on ships because they can't get staff. I don't know where all these people went,
Mm.
but so answer to your questions, there are fabulous resorts. That's why I like to go do hard hat tours. I like to stay at them as soon as they open. I get invited to a lot of grand openings, and I understand that the experience the first 90 to 180 days is not truly indicative of the future. And brides are always following these resorts, and I am always cautious in letting them book a resort that may open late. And we have one now that we have people under deposit, and we just got notice from the resort. Their opening date is pushed back 6 months, and now we're waiting for the resort to give the bride options on what other within that brand they can host at.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6
So
months
that's
is
an
a bit.
issue on new resorts.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Always give us good stuff. Awesome. Cool.
Okay.
So, you have a good one. Thank
You have a
you.
good one too. And going back to your question of what does it cost? So as I said, I
Oh,
am
yeah.
working on a series and I don't know when I'll get to it, but I want to do a video which would be what's it cost for the rooms? What is the private event cost and break down some costs I'm seeing for DJs,
Hmm.
decor, flowers, menus. So I'm trying to put all that stuff together and maybe do, 3 to 5 videos, one on each segment to give people a better sense of, to your point, what does a DJ cost? I think the problem is people have unrealistic expectations for what is it going to cost in Mexico, Punta Cana, or Jamaica, which vary. Even though
Yes.
you could be at a Royalton resort in Jamaica and one in Mexico, there's different labor markets, there's a different cost structure and different competition. And just because it's Mexico and the peso is devalued totally, it doesn't matter. These resorts run on US dollar.
Yeah.
So, why does Paco the DJ get $900? Well, it's because Paco's not getting the $900. The resort's getting $900,
Right.
right?
Paco's
And because they
getting,
can.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it goes back to I've done videos about outside vendor fees and,
Oh, Lord. Yes. I will
right?
link to
So,
those too, because, yes, I'll
because
link
you can't
to,
get around it anymore because some of the resorts are basically foot down. No outside vendors.
yeah.
None.
Or they're charging you a crazy number where you may
$1,000.
as well,
Right.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
just had a bride call me that was really irritated with a company, and I'm not going to mention who. They're charging $1,000 per day per vendor per discipline. So here's what that
Mm.
means is this bride is going to have an outside vendor do photo and video. It's the same 2 people doing photo and video. The resort has interpreted that as it's photo and video, 2 different
Oh,
vendors,
get out
two
of
people,
here.
$4,000 per day for 2 days, $8,000 in outside vendor fees. It's crazy.
So do you have to tell them they're doing photo and video? You can't just say they're doing photo and then they do video as well?
Here's the thing that I tell people all the time. My answer is yes, you probably could, but if it squawks like a duck and walks like a duck, the resort's going to think it's a duck. And I think if they see someone doing video there, they're going to say, well, who's doing the video? Oh, we didn't charge you for that. I don't know. I'm worried that
Yeah,
that'll
that sounds
happen.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
just don't know.
Yeah.
Same thing with, photography and then, you know,
I mean, yeah, but there's
all
something
the
like
other
hair
stuff.
and makeup. If
Hair
someone's
and
doing my
makeup.
hair and makeup, are you going to charge? That doesn't even, yeah. I mean,
There's
that they're
different
doing what they
ways with
can
hair and makeup, but yeah, photography and video. If it's Uncle Bob with, his iPhone, I think we're okay. But if Uncle Bob comes out with his
with his whole
assistant with yeah, they're gonna
drones
know.
and all of the things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway, that's but thanks for having me. It's been great. Hopefully your folks are enjoying planning their destination weddings. There's great resorts. Have fun planning the destination wedding. Yes, there's some stress, but at the end of the day, it'll be it's a great experience. As someone that used to attend one wedding a month and tries to attend, I just enjoy seeing our clients so happy and their guests happy and just enjoying it versus having 45 seconds of fun and having to go talk to 200 other people you don't care about.
Woo. Or no. Nice to meet you. Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome.
Why are you at my wedding? Exactly. So, okay,
I love it. Thank you, Jack.
okay. You have a great week, okay, or a great weekend.